Welcome to the Create What You Speak podcast. Join me as we have a real-life discussion on how to change your life by changing your thoughts. Remember, question everything, trust yourself, and find your truth. I know it may seem like it, but your voice is not canceled in 2020. Not at all. My name is Sloan Fremont, and this is the Create What You Speak podcast. This week we're talking about how to use your voice, how it's so important right now for all of us to find our voice, use our voice, and stand up when we're seeing things happen that just aren't right. I mean, that doesn't even begin to cover it. But I want to talk to you this week. I have some examples I want to talk through with you, and then I want to give you a really great resource at the end of the show to help you with finding your voice in all of this chaos right now that we're still seeing in 2020. So let me first start off by talking about an example in my own life. So this feeling of not having a voice this year, right, in 2020, I think that's probably most of us right now, right? We feel like we've sat on the sidelines. We've watched on TV. We've watched riots. We've watched buildings burn. We've watched people lose their businesses. We've watched people get beaten. We've watched these so-called officials put these, quote, mandates in place and then turn around and violate their own mandates and do the exact opposite, right? We've seen all of this chaos this year, which leads, a lot of people that I talk to, I know I felt this way myself, where it makes us feel helpless, right? Like we're sitting here watching this stuff and it's like, what can I do about this, right? What can I do? I feel like, I don't know what to do. I don't know, and so having this feeling of our voice being quelled is so, it's so demeaning, I think, as a human, because it makes us feel like we don't matter. It makes us feel like there isn't anything we can do, so why bother, right? There's all these emotions we go through. And one of the things, as I was thinking about this topic, one thing I noticed about in my own life and with my experience, and especially with the law of attraction, and I've talked about this a little bit recently as things have evolved this year, about this just a different take that I have on this. I still believe we create our own reality, right? I still think our thoughts create our life. I still believe that's not up for question for me. But one of the things that I've really been questioning is how we deal with this, with how we deal in situations where it's often promoted for us to turn the other cheek or look the other way, right? Or not stand up for ourselves, right? Because we don't want to attract more bad in our lives, right? And I think even outside of law of attraction, like most of us are just brought up that way, right? We're brought up to do things the right way. And another source of rage this year is seeing people that are doing the right things getting beaten, shot, killed, arrested, all of this kind of stuff, all of these injustices. And so I've been really thinking about this, finding our voice, right? And being able to use our voice and feeling empowered to do so. And the whole, theme almost of 2020 is that our voices were canceled. And I don't believe that. That doesn't sit well with me, and I don't accept that. So as I've been thinking about this in my own life, I had an example. I've got a few examples for you, but I'm going to start out with one from my own life from work. I had a situation at work where we had this large presentation that was going to be done, and the piece that I was working on of the project, I kept asking. I was hearing about this large presentation, but I wasn't involved in it. There wasn't any piece. Nobody had said anything to me. And I was like, well, am I presenting at this, or what's going on with this? And the person who was our lead on this, I asked, am I doing this? And he kept telling me no. And in my mind, I'm like, that can't be right, because every other person who's, has a larger piece of the program they're presenting. So why wouldn't my piece be presented? I kept bringing this up. And then another person was asking me about it, and he was telling me, well, why aren't you presenting? And I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea what's going on. And this went on for a couple of weeks. Well, finally, here we are a couple of days before the presentation. And I find out that I have to present at this. And of course, everybody else has worked on their pieces for weeks. I have like 24 hours basically to put mine together, and I'm pissed. I'm so pissed. And my old way of doing things would have been, I would have just like sucked it up. Not really sucked it up because I was not wanting to have the confrontation, but more because of how I didn't particularly like the person who is the lead on this. That was supposed to be the one relaying this information to me. Like, I don't know what there's some, I don't know, there's something there. And for some reason, like my response to that has been on a couple of other instances like this, when there's been major lack of communication, is just to let it go and like silently seethe inside. And with this one, I said, no, I'm going to say something to him. And we were on this call, and I called him out. I said, well, this other person told me that they told you that I was presenting, and I kept asking you and you kept saying no. And he said, and we went through this whole thing, and, whatever, he had his excuses. But in the end, what mattered was that I said something, right? Where usually I would have just been pissed off and went off to the side and not wanted to deal with it. Primarily, I think that's it. That's why I didn't say anything when he had done this kind of stuff before, because I just didn't want to deal with it. And this time was different. I said something, and saying something to him about that, calling him out like that, and actually letting him know how mad I was and how he put me in such a terrible position. I had very little time to prepare for something where everyone else had weeks. And it felt good, right? It felt good to tell somebody, hey, you've done me wrong here. You did something wrong that impacted me, and now it's put me in a position that, has all these other things for me, right? I'm stressed out. I'm not at my best with this, right? Because I haven't had the time to prepare, all this kind of stuff. So that kind of set off this like chain reaction of thoughts with me about this, using our voice, because I was like, wait a minute, why am I not doing this? Like, why do I feel, and I know why I feel this way, right? It's the whole way the years went, the constant, like I said, all the things that I went through, right? The sitting on the sidelines and feeling like hopeless and helpless, and nothing we say or do matters. But I found just doing that one little thing, saying that one injustice to that person who did that to me, made a huge difference. And so, again, I wanted to talk about this today because if you're feeling silenced, if you're feeling this way like I have felt, that it doesn't matter anyway, or that, your voice doesn't matter, I want more than anything for you to understand from the show that, yes, your voice matters. You have a say in it, right? I did a whole show on that earlier this year, I think, and your voice matters. Your voice matters, especially, it's always mattered, but especially now, especially in 2020, because I know it feels like it doesn't, and I want to tell you that it does. And so after I called this person out on it, and we went on, and I'm over it, right? I'm over it, but it started, it sort of like lit this fire in me now, where it gave me this like empowered feeling, or this confidence that I don't feel like that I've had much in 2020. And as I saw another story about this woman who, I think she was in California, and she had this restaurant where, in California, the wackiness, the jumping through hoops, ridiculous amounts of jumping through hoops, keeping people locked up while the governor goes and, dines indoors without a mask, he puts these fake mandates in place for the state that they have to do, right? And so I'm watching this video of this woman, and the whole time she's recording this, she's wearing a mask. And I'm thinking, why are you wearing the mask? Like, stop complying, right? And then she shows this video where her business, she has a restaurant, and she has set up this whole outdoor thing that that she was told, I don't know, the city, somebody told her she couldn't operate her business. But then there was a movie set, or a movie being filmed like 50 feet, literally 50 feet from her business, where they had set up all these outdoor tents for food. And she was obviously, rightfully so, distraught. And why can they do this, but they're telling me mine is dangerous? And the whole, again, I'm watching this like, stop complying. They're gaslighting you, right? You can see this with your own eyes. Like, stop believing what they're telling you and start standing up for yourself, right? Start calling this shit out. Start saying, no, I'm not going to close my business. This is bullshit. What you're doing 50 feet away is the exact same thing as what I'm doing over here. And I will not stand for it. I'm not doing it. And so I'm seeing this and I'm thinking about this, right? About how we all feel this way of like our voice is canceled, right? It doesn't matter. And that isn't true, right? That is not true. There was another video I saw, and this one was heartbreaking to me. It was this man who was in a store, and he had one item he was trying to purchase, and and he wasn't wearing a mask, and they were yelling at him to put the mask on. All you got to do is put the mask on, right? These people who are all congregating and ganging up on this poor guy. All you got to do is put the mask on. The guy's like, I just want to buy this one thing. Some guy comes up behind him and dumps this tub of water on him. Like, what the fuck? Like, what the actual fuck? Like, how is this okay? Right? And the poor guy stand there and he's like, are you serious, man? And he puts the item down and he walks out. And I was so angered. Angry. It doesn't even, like, it's extremely, it's really upsetting to me to see that, because we are all that guy. Every single one of us that refused to put on the mask and walk into a store knowing what we're up against, we are all that guy. There is so much self-talk, anxiety quelling things that you have to say to yourself before you even get out of your car to walk into a store. The amount of the guts that it takes to do that today is, I mean, the fact that this is even a thing that we're talking about is insane. But I'm looking at this and I'm thinking about this. All this guy wanted to do was buy this one thing. I mean, what if he was, I don't know what he was buying. I mean, I don't know. And who knows what kind of day he had, right? Like, we all know the energy it takes to get ourselves in the right space to mentally be able to walk in and deal with this kind of shit, right? And some places are worse than others, right? Some places it's really bad, like where it's the harassment is just like just rampant, right? And then I'm watching this again. I'm thinking, where's all the anti-bullying campaigns that we saw for years and years and years, right? That's suddenly out the window. Like, now it's okay to bully people. And I know you're sick of it, like I'm sick of it. And this is why I wanted to talk about this today. Our voice is not canceled. We have to start using our voices. And when we see this kind of stuff, when we see people being treated this way, we have to stand up for each other. This is insane. The way people are being treated, the way people are being bullied, assaulted, all of this for something as simple as walking into a store and buying something. If these fucking masks worked, then I've not worn one, so why am I not dead, right? If these masks work so well, and if they work so well, then stay away. Then what's your problem? Why do you have to worry? Don't come near me, right? Like, we all know by now it's not about health. It's about compliance. And when you don't comply, when you don't fall in line, they attack you. And this has got to stop. And it only stops when we stand up and say no. When businesses open, just like they're doing in New York, that guy that owned the gym, and he ended up making it a political place so that he could keep it open. And now there's another bar where they're all gathered outside of there because they closed them down. This is the kind of stuff it's going to take. And yes, it sucks. And yes, it's painful. And yes, it's uncomfortable and all of these things. But it has not gotten any better. Do you remember back in March when they said 2 weeks? 2 weeks. Here we are. What are we on? 10 months now? Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, this has to stop. That's why we have to stand up for ourselves. We have to stand up for each other. If you see somebody else in a store that isn't wearing a mask and they're getting harassed or they're getting bullied, help them. Help each other so this shit stops, because it's just going to keep going and it's not going to get any better. And I don't know I know how we got here. I hate that we're here. I hate that I even have to, say these things, but this is where we're at. This is the reality, and we can't ignore it. We cannot ignore it. So I wanted to give you a resource this week, because here's another part of this. Why this blindly following, I think, happens is because as Americans, most of us don't know our rights. We can't recite them. We took tests years ago in school, and then we just forgot it, let it go. We didn't think about it anymore, right? We just assumed we were free, and we went on with our lives, right? Well, here we are right now, and this isn't free. We've talked about this. So I want to give you a resource. There's a woman named Peggy Hall. Her website is thehealthyamerican.org, and I will link to it in the show notes. But Peggy has so many videos. She has, she's been doing these seminars to educate people on their rights. I took one from her about, it was for business owners to open their business, right? Because these shutting down, the government can't do this. This is not legal. This is not legal. And she teaches you your rights. She gives you the verbiage. She quotes the law. She points it out for you. She's got it all done for you. This past week also, I did one on medical rights, for getting, for people who are, getting denied medical service because they won't wear a mask, right? Or they can't, right? Or whatever your reason is. And we just did a 2.5-hour, webinar on that this week. And so I'm telling you this because this is how you stand up for yourself, because this is how, when you know the laws, when you can speak to this, when you're confident about this is how we stand up for ourselves. This is how we stand up for each other, and we take our rights back. You have to understand and know what they are. So her name is Peggy Hall, The Healthy American. I'll link to it in the show notes. I highly, highly recommend. She has many, many videos. Sign up for her email list. She sends out emails. Her videos, I think, got all taken down from YouTube. So I would suggest finding her on BitChute. She has a channel on there. She's an amazing woman, very upbeat, very positive, based out of California. But I always feel very empowered. I've learned so much from her videos, from her, the webinars I've taken with her. And I feel, and so that brought me back to this whole topic of today of your voice is not canceled, right? Being able to do this after I listened to her, after I had that experience with work where I stuck up for myself. And then the next day, I think, was the webinar with Peggy, and having that confidence to be able to understand and speak to it, it made me feel a million times better. So I think that in doing this, like researching this stuff, finding out this information, understanding the laws, understanding what your rights are, all of this stuff gives you that empowerment. It gives you that confidence. It helps you to stand up for yourself. It helps you to educate others, because that's a big part of this, right? Most people, like I said, don't know. I didn't before this. I'm not trying to say that I'm like any better, right? I didn't understand this before either. I mean, I had a vague idea, but I couldn't speak to it like I can now. So 2020 didn't cancel your voice. Use your voice. Educate yourself, stand up for yourself, stand up for others, and let's end this madness. All right, that's it for this week. I know I got super emotional in there, but it's an emotional topic. We're all going through this right now, right? We're all doing this. And my intention today is that I've inspired you to use your voice and use it for change. So, so that's it this week. All right, so let's see. My social media accounts, I'm on Parler, Mayway, Gab. I've also added a BitChute channel. That's new this week. So I take my video or my podcast, I put them on video if you prefer video format. I've got some content that I put in there with it. So it's on BitChute. I'll link to that in the show notes as well. Of course, I have my Telegram channel. If you're not familiar with Telegram, it's a great source of information. So many channels out there that you can get so much information that you don't see pretty much anywhere else. Lastly, also, don't forget my course, 33daysofmagic.com. All the things that we talk about, right, in the show and past shows about setting your intention, deciding how you want your day to go, really creating your reality. This course gives you all of the steps to do that. So visit 33daysofmagic.com to find out more about that. All right. So that's it for this week. Remember, question everything, trust yourself, and find your truth.